for a bit, please. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here and supporting our mission here at Beat the Streets. We're going to do, so first, I'm the executive director of Beat the Streets National. My name is Ben Ryder. I've been with Beat the Streets for right about 7 years now. First with Beat the Streets Philadelphia and a little over 2 years in this role at National. And I get inspired every day by the work that's happening within this organization, the youth we serve. We have such amazing, inspirational youth that are overcoming against all odds. And it's only possible with folks like you that are out here supporting this mission, being a part of this. The wrestling community is a group of really passionate people, resilient people, and we could take this organization to all new heights as we continue to mobilize that community for good. So we're going to start off with, I'm going to introduce a video in a minute, but first I want to do a special thank you to all of our sponsors that made this event possible today. After that, I'm going to say a few more words, and we're going to introduce to our guest speakers, Jordan Barber, Sarah Band. So thank you all for being here. So a special thank you to our presenting sponsors, Concrete Strategies, 3LLC, the Dan and Vivian Hyman Foundation, Wrestle Shield. Wrestle Shield is not only a gold sponsor tonight, but they're also a partner with us year round on helping keep our athletes safe and protected from skill elements. Our silver and bronze sponsors, USA Wrestling, thank you USA Wrestling, Tiger Concrete, JLL Capital Markets, Precision Commercial, Kawa, Corman, and our supporting sponsors, the Pennsylvania Regional Training Center, Wendy Priest, Pat Ramsey, Manco Gold, Ackman Ziff, and Georgia Norcross. Thank you all for making this day possible to our sponsors. Big round of applause. So if we could have your attention for a few minutes, we have a nice overview video where you could hear from some of our youth directly, and you know, we have amazing, inspirational youth coming through this organization. Really love you to hear some of their journeys. So we could start our video presentation. Thank you.
I face a lot of adversity in my life.
Drugs, kicking out class, some bad things happen around here. It's a lot of killing, gangs, trouble. There's a lot of drug dealing. When you're on your back or when you're pushed down, beat up, it's tough. I just want to be better.
I want people to see the real me and to start to shine.
There's two things wrestling teaches you, is toughness and discipline. Well, when you look at it, toughness and discipline equal leadership.
They come from very tough circumstances. But wrestling teaches you how to deal with adversity. Wrestling makes you tough.
Our programs are aimed mainly at the inner city, mainly at places that couldn't do it otherwise.
As our programs expand, our resources need to expand as well to serve all those areas.
Wrestling shoes, workout gear, we put on competitions and clinics. We have a great summer camp program.
A wrestling mat is approximately $10,000. Headgear is $40 a kit. Our programs are free of charge.
We essentially provide everything that a young person needs to participate in our program.
It's incredible to see the work that's been done through this one. We're reaching over 8,400 kids every year.
Not a lot of programs have what Beat the Street have, in a way where you have a coach, you have a mentor.
You're keeping them out of trouble, you're keeping them off the streets, you're giving them a motivation and incentive to go to school.
And wrestling truly transforms lives for the better when a positive mentor is one leading the way.
I've formed many relationships that we know we're like bound to each other because we share the same journey.
What's really surprised me is how many girls really want to wrestle and how many girls really want to get out there and are energized by the sport and really love competing in wrestling.
Some of these girls, they have stuff outside of wrestling, but they come and Beat the Streets. It's a safe home for us. Like, they're smiling, they're glad to see each other. The energy around there is not the energy outside.
There's nobody that works harder than a wrestler. And wrestlers learn that if you work hard, you get better, you achieve results, and good things will happen.
Feel like a girl right now, back to the girl. Yeah, I feel good. I actually feel great.
You want to feel hope about the future? Come get our kids.
So since, a little updated number since that video, this past wrestling season, we're actually reaching over 10,000 youth across the country. The video said 8,400. So we're growing. Have felt and experienced and lived how transformational the sport of wrestling could be in our lives. So I'm going to take a second and just imagine where you'd be today without a caring coach in your corner, pushing you to be better, without the life lessons that exist in the sport, without the community and the friendships that you built along the way. I know personally I'd be in a whole different place. And there are millions of youth across the country today, and more across the world, that will never have that opportunity, that don't have that opportunity right now, but they will in the future because we're changing that. Youth living in poverty are 6 times more likely to quit sports because of cost barriers. We can change that. We are changing that. So Beat the Streets, we're taking that life-changing experience that you can have through the sport of wrestling, the power of a caring coach in your corner, the community, we're pairing that with mentorship. We're taking it to our inner cities. We're taking it in some of the most impoverished, high-need areas of the entire country. And it's working. The work we're doing is working. We're seeing our youth go on to do amazing things in life. A lot of the cities that we're in, crime is a big issue. Violence in the neighborhoods are a big issue. We're keeping kids in a safe place and in a positive environment right after school during the time that shootings are the most common in the areas we're working in. We're keeping kids in school. We're keeping our youth in school. A lot of the cities we're in, only 60% of youth will graduate high school in some of the cities that we're in. For Beat the Streets youth, that's over 98%. We're making tremendous progress. And we think, and then what really is powerful too, when we talk to our youth, when you ask a Beat the Streets kid, what does Beat the Streets mean to you? They'll use words like safe haven, community, family. We're seeing our youth come back full circle and be the coaches and mentors for their younger peers. So this movement's powerful, it's changing lives every day, but there's a lot more work to do. We're reaching 10,000 youth across the country. We should be taking this movement across every major city. We should be taking, I full-heartedly believe that there's gonna be a day where we're reaching 1 million youth across the entire world. Another thing that I want to share about our youth, just to really talk about, our youth are overcomers, they're fighters. They embrace that wrestling mindset of how to overcome adversity, how to navigate challenges, how to set goals and work towards those goals. Our youth have had to take on that mindset before they ever stepped on the mat. Our youth are overcoming, we have many of the kids that we serve have to overcome poverty, homelessness, shootings in the neighborhood, drugs, all sorts of things that no child should ever have to experience. I can't tell you how many times that I've heard, and Beat the Streets coaches have heard, Coach, I can't make it a practice today. Water got cut off. Coach, we're getting evicted. Coach, there's a shooting on the block. One of my friends died. Those are the kind of things we hear. So the need is very real. And what can we do? Our coaches, they come alongside our youth. They work with them through all these life challenges, provide a safe environment, provide a community of people that care about them, want to see them succeed, tap into the life lessons that exist in the sport to empower our youth to go and overcome these challenges and go and do amazing things in their lives, which is what we're seeing. We're seeing Beat the Streets youth to go on and receive scholarships for college, learn trades and move into fulfilling careers, serve our country, do all sorts of amazing things in their lives and coming back and helping their younger peers. So we need to keep doing that. And one of the purposes of this event, this is our second year now doing our celebration of impact. We got ourselves organized at the national level. We have a plan to scale this across every major city in the country, eventually beyond. And one of the goals of this event is to mobilize the broader wrestling community. Because wrestlers are passionate, wrestlers are resilient, wrestlers get the job done, and there are millions of wrestlers in this country right now And if we could just get 1% of them, if we get 1% of them plugged in to Beat the Streets, as a coach, as a donor, as a leader within this organization, then we will take this movement to all new heights. We will take this movement across every major city of the country. We'll take this movement across the world, and we're building something that we'll all be really, really proud of. We need your help rallying the troops. We need your help building that army of supporters. We need you to go home and talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to people about what we're doing, what we're trying to do, what we've done already, and what is possible in the future. So now before I pass the mic over to Jordan Barrows, who doesn't really need an introduction, he's just an amazing legend of the sport, and a huge Beat the Street supporter and a role model for our youth. I do want to also let you guys know that we have one thing I did want to mention. We're selling gear here. We have if you join as our Takedown Club, a monthly donor, you get a gifted hoodie or quarter zip. And then we built a nice partnership with A6 and Gear to Compete, and we have the Beat the Streets National Wrestling Shoe here. Those are available for pre-order. That's the first time that's ever happened. So we have our own Beat the Street shoes. That's a big deal, and want you guys to have an opportunity to find more out about that. Great. Now it's really my honor to introduce Jordan and take the mic. He's been not only a legend in the sport and an amazing example for our youth at Beat the Streets. Jordan will come in and guest coach a practice randomly and spend time with our kids and build really meaningful relationships and be there and just look them in the eye and let them know that, hey, you're capable of doing really great things. So Jordan's our inaugural 2023 Ambassador Award, and he will be presenting to this year's recipient, Sarah Caban. So I'm going to ask Jordan to come off the mic, and thank you.
Man, never get used to this. It never gets easy. All right, you know what I want to do? I want to start this off by saying a prayer. Is that okay with everyone? All right, sweet. Let's bow our heads, if you don't mind. God, we thank you for this moment in time. Thank you for allowing us to be here together as family, as friends. We ask that you bless our relationships, our conversations. Just continue to grow us, develop us. Help us be honest, to operate with integrity, to operate with character, to be extremely generous, to be loving, to be kind, but also to be courageous and to be brave in everything that we do. We ask that you bless this weekend. And God, most importantly, we ask that teams like Iowa and Oklahoma State and Penn State, Cornell, North Carolina State, God, we ask that they don't win another match this weekend so that Nebraska can take first place. And we just thank you, God, for allowing us to be here. And all God's people said amen. Man, all right, here we go. You know, one of the crazy things about wrestling is wrestling's a sport based on tradition and lineage, right? If your dad wrestled, you're probably gonna wrestle. Your older brother wrestled, you're gonna wrestle. And that's the unique thing about this sport, is so many different statures and styles make for greatness. That's what I love about being here at this tournament. Anyone can be great at this. I grew up in a predominantly African-American community where we didn't wrestle. You played basketball, you played football. Wrestling was always taboo. Once they heard what you had to wear, they were like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do it. And so I find myself being lucky enough to be one of the individuals that was influenced by a great coach. And one of those individuals who influenced me was my high school coach, was a guy named Rick Koss. They say the average coach can influence more people in a single year than most people do in an entire lifetime. And the special thing for me was that great coach, he told me what I was capable of, but also he was a historian of the sport. And so I knew little about wrestling. The only guy that I knew when I was a kid was Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage. And so when I found out about the champions of yesteryear, especially the ones that looked like me, it gave me a lot of courage for what the future would actually hold for me. He told me about Nate Carr. He told me about Kenny Monday and Kevin Jackson and Melvin Douglas and all of the black wrestlers who came before me, who gave me a lot of confidence in what I could be possibly capable of. And so the great thing about wrestling is it replicates life so extremely closely. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it. No other sport in the world that you have to get choked out, beat up, slammed, humble yourself, brush off the dirt, and come back and try again. Sometimes in the same day. And the great thing about this sport is that the leaders who looked like me were ambassadors before me. And that gave me great confidence that they could say, hey, he looks like me, I can be great too. And that honestly is where my legacy lies. When I moved to Philadelphia to be a part of the PRTC, Brandon Slade told me that the greatest work that I'd ever do wouldn't be on the wrestling mat. Sure, people can watch me hit double legs and win championships and get excited about my greatness, but ultimately, it's how I impact the generation behind me that is going to be the lasting legacy. And so, as an ambassador, I get excited about introducing our next award winner, because this is exciting for me, because now we have women's wrestling, which has become the fastest growing scholastic sport in the entire country. It's wild. It's wild. My wife and I, we were fortunate to have our 5th little one just 2 months ago. And so, yeah, we're busy. She can't keep her hands off me. So we're busy, but I've got 3 boys now, and I've got 2 girls. And so when everyone asks me, like, hey, will your boys wrestle? I'm like, absolutely, but so will my daughters. My daughters will wrestle as well. And one of the important things about it for me is, I'm like, if you're a Burroughs, you're wrestling. Your older boy, if you're a Burroughs, you grow up in this household, you wrestle. And that's why we keep having kids, so we can have more wrestlers. And so, Sarah McMahon was an Olympic silver medalist in 2004 in Athens, Greece, which was the inaugural women's wrestling Olympic Games. And it was special because she was a trailblazer in her sport. And so as you watch women's wrestling bloom and grow, you have to think about the people who set the standard for where we are currently. And Sarah was one of those individuals. She's a 6-time national champion, not only Olympic silver medalist, but also a world silver medalist and a multiple-time world bronze medalist. She's fought in the UFC, she's fought in Bellator. She's tough. She's very tough. And the most exciting thing is I get to present her with this year's BTS Social Ambassador Award, Miss Sarah McMahon.
Thank you so much, everybody. I am super honored to be introduced and given this award by Jordan. He's one of the people I've really followed and looked up to. He's definitely a living legend and one of the best to ever do it. So I'm honored for that. I'm really excited to be a part of Beat the Streets. This organization is really near and dear to my heart. I really wish that when I was growing up, I had something like this to pull me in and get me out of the environment that I was being raised in. I was raised with dysfunction in my family. I was raised around drugs. I was raised around violence. I'm exactly the young athlete that Beat the Streets is reaching out to and trying to pull in and get out of that kind of life. And I was on the verge of going down that wrong path as well. So fortunately, I just decided that I was gonna start doing sports in 9th grade. And to this day, I have absolutely no idea why I chose wrestling. It's one of the toughest sports. It's just absolutely grueling. So to never have really done sports before and to just my first sport be wrestling, it's pretty wild. So like I said, I was going down a bad path. I had already started, I was smoking cigarettes, I was drinking, and I probably was only a couple years away from maybe experimenting with more dangerous drugs. I had seen it, I'd seen it around me, I'd seen it in my own family, and if you're not pulled out of that environment, it's very easy to just go down that path without even thinking twice. So I got into wrestling, and man, that first year was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Not to mention going from never having done athletics outside of my PE class to going into this sport. The things that I was doing definitely didn't help. And my high school coach, like, he didn't really want me to be on the team. So instead of actually saying anything, he just organized the most unbelievably difficult preseason to try to weed me out. But thankfully for me, I'm probably one of the most stubborn people on the planet. So it's a great asset in wrestling. And I was able to stick with it, to kind of push myself, start finding finding the limits of my physical exertion, finding, and pushing through those things. And I mean, really, wrestling, like, as difficult as it was, wrestling completely changed the trajectory of my entire life. Outside of the physical things, I was, kind of pushed to, I was expected to quit. And not to say that anybody was, like, really malicious. It was just very unheard of in that time. I was living in North Carolina, and I was the only girl in the entire state. So instead of it being like, we don't think girls belong, it's really like, what are you doing? Like, they just never even heard of women in wrestling. And I had, grown up a little bit in Pennsylvania, Matttown, USA, Lock Haven. And so I had seen young girl wrestlers when I was growing up, and I was like, what are you talking about? Of course females can wrestle. So having that pushback from the physical aspect, and then also people telling me that I should quit, I had to really dig down and find that grit to keep me there. After that first year, I felt like head over heels in love with wrestling. I just couldn't get enough of it. My high school coach was like, Sarah, you can't marry wrestling, right? I was like, that's ridiculous. Well, why not? It's the best sport in the world. I love it. It loves me. So I definitely feel like I could, invest my entire life into this. So I went from just trying to survive practices to eventually thriving and finding success. It helped me get away from my home environment, it helped me pick up my grades. I started thinking about going to college. I went to college and I graduated. I went back and got my master's degree. I just can't even fathom where I would really be if I had kept on the path from where I started, and if wrestling hadn't come in and changed the entire trajectory of my course. So this collaboration is, like, especially important to me. If I'm able to help inspire and save any kids that were looking down, looking into the same environment that I grew up in, I just think that there's nothing greater in the entire world than to help youth and make the next generation better. I love the impact that going to the 2004 Olympics has had. I hope that it has helped women wrestlers find a goal to look towards, and coaches to be able to invest more, and teammates to be able to accept women's wrestling more. And that was something that was like a huge accomplishment outside of winning a medal. And so if some of these kids that you guys are going to be helping, some of them don't have a fighting chance. I mean, you heard what Ben was saying, the lives that they live, and I'm one of those kids that you might be able to help. And your guys' investment into this organization could very well literally save the lives of some of these kids. When I was, my older brother, when I was 18 years old, he was still in that environment when I went to college, and he was murdered. And so that is the kind of outcome that happens. A life on drugs, or your life being taken prematurely, and your donations, your support can completely change that. So I owe my life to wrestling, and I'd love nothing more through Beat the Streets to be able to change other people's lives too. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Sarah. Man, so a couple of really cool things. So I saw this stat, so I don't want to butcher this, Sarah, but I believe when she won an Olympic silver medal in 2004, there were only 2 states in the entire country that had officially sanctioned women's wrestling and were hosting state championships. And of the two, one was Texas and the other was Hawaii, right? And as of the fall of 2023, there were 44 states that have an individual state championships for girls wrestling. So let's give it up for that. It's awesome. Super cool. All right, so here's what I want to do. We're gonna do an auction. So I'm not an auctioneer, so you guys are gonna have to bear with me here. But we've got a couple of cool items over here on this table on the left that my friends and I have brought. And if you guys don't know, we started a foundation, my wife and I, back in 2019. It's called the All We See Is Gold Foundation. And so our goal is to help underserved, underprivileged areas, infect them with positivity and resources in order to get their wrestling room started, in order for them to get the things that they need to help amplify where they are and continue to push their progression forward. And so when we started this journey, we understood that it was going to be a difficult one, but it was going to be a worthwhile pursuit. And it was going to be something satisfying that we were bought into. And so we've come alongside Beat the Streets to create this auction in order to infuse more resources into places all around the country. And so typically what we like to do is we inject resources into the cities in which the NCAA Wrestling Championships are held. And so we've done Pittsburgh, we've done, well, we're gonna do Minneapolis in 2020 before COVID, and then we've also done Tulsa last year, and then next year we'll be back in Philadelphia, so that's gonna be really special, which is our hometown. And so on this table over here on the left, I'm gonna grab these things if you don't mind. Can you bring them over to me? Thank you. All right, so we got a couple of really special items up here that we're gonna bring up. We got 1, 2. I'm not fighting, guys. They're gloves, but I'm not fighting. I don't want to get punched in the face. Sarah can use these better than I can. All right. So here's the first thing we got. Let's do the gloves first. All right. So these are a pair of UFC gloves that are signed by both Khabib Nurmagomedov and then also Daniel Cormier. And so we've got some really cool gloves here. Let's start the starting bid at $250. $250 for these two autographed gloves from UFC champions Khabib and then also Daniel Cormier. Do we have any takers? $250 right here in the front. Akil, my man, $300. All right, we're at $300 already for the gloves. Anyone else? We got $300. $300 for the gloves. $300 for the gloves. My man Bob, you're the best, bro. Every time Bob comes, I know he's gonna go hard for us. We're at, what do you got, 350? Let's go. 400? All right, 400 over here for Bob. 400 right now for Bob. 500? Yeah. 500 in the back. 500. Can we get 6? Can we go 6? Anyone want to go for 6? 6 for the UFC gloves. Remember, this is for a great cause. Not for the gloves, for the kids. What we got? 1,000? Yes, I love it. $1,000 in the back, my man. All right, $1,000. We're at 1,000. We're at 1,000. Are we going any higher than 1,000? We're at 1,000 right now. Can we get 11? 1,100. We're at 1,000. Bob, my man. I love it. 1,250. All right, we're at 1,250.